Today we're speedrunning through Pokemon Blue, which is going to be a lot more broken than you might think. And we're going to start that brokenness before we even start the speedrun. Right away we want to manipulate our trainer ID to be 61896. And to do that we can frame perfectly advance through the intro screens, go into the delete game screen, and immediately perform a soft reset by holding A, B, select, and start. After this, we're going to do nothing for a few screens and let them play out, but once this Jigglypuff shows up and does a hop, we'll hold A to get to the title screen of the game and start holding start before immediately pressing B to go back to the title screen. Now all we need to do is wait until the Squirtle moves away and then hold start. We know we're successful here because Hitmonlee shows up, and now we can finally start the speedrun. And just like normal, we're gonna have Professor Oak explaining the world of Pokemon to us. Too bad I don't really care, so we just mash through this text as fast as possible. Finally, Oak will ask what our name is, and we have a really specific answer. Here the name is going to be a very strange group of characters, but it's necessary for the tricks we do later in the run. Since I want to do this fast, I have all the inputs written down and just go by them while hopefully not messing it up. This is the result, and yeah, my mom probably hates me. But after that, Oak is gonna ask what his grandson's name is because he's definitely a good person, which we can just thankfully use the preset of red and start our journey. But before we do anything, once we spawn in the world, we want to set text speed to fast and battle animations to off for some pretty obvious reasons. But now we can actually start our journey, and we walk down some stairs, completely ignore our mom, and start walking up to a patch of grass. But once we get there, Oak stops us and says it's dangerous to go in tall grass since Pokemon can appear and attack you, so he takes us all the way back to his Pokemon lab. Now in this lab we see Professor Oak and his grandson Red, which yes, I know his official name is Blue and we're Red, so that's kinda confusing, but it's whatever. Professor Oak tells us that he used to be a serious Pokemon trainer, but now he only has 3 Pokemon left. Honestly, doesn't seem like the best trainer, but he offers one to us and one to Red. And for some reason, we get the first pick, but I guess it's pretty clear that he hates his grandson, so we'll take it. Now he probably expects us to look at each Pokemon and consider our options, but we just ignore the other 2 and choose Charmander. But don't worry, we'll also be ignoring Charmander soon enough anyways. This prompts Red to take Squirtle, and he challenges us to our first Pokemon battle. In this battle, it doesn't matter if we win or lose, but losing is slightly faster since we don't have to wait for the level up text. But the AI is kind of dumb and really likes using Tail Whip, so it isn't very consistent to hope for that. The strategy here is pretty much just spam Scratch and hope Squirtle kills you. But we got super unlucky and had literally 1 HP left, so we got the win, but whatever, only a small time loss. Now it's time to get Professor Oak's package and bring it back to him, so we're off to Viridian City. In this section, we don't have any cool tricks to avoid Pokemon encounters just yet, so we pretty much just hope we get good RNG and take the fastest path. There's also no point in fighting wild Pokemon, so when we do need to battle, we'll just flee every time. I actually got pretty lucky here and only got 1 Pokemon encounter to start, which isn't too bad. So after this, we visit the Pokemart, get Oak's package, and go all the way back to the lab. Don't worry, the cool parts of the speedrun are really close, I promise. But for now, we take the path that generally avoids tall grass and get no Pokemon on the way back. Then after delivering the package, Oak decides to give us a Pokedex before sending us out to finally break the entire game in half. Oh yeah, I also stand next to Professor Oak instead of in front of him, so Red has less area to walk, which saves a little time. Now we make our way back to Viridian City with the same path as before, and unluckily got 1 more encounter, but 2 total isn't too bad. Then we make our way over to the Pokemart and buy a single Pokeball because it's time to do some manips. Now how Generation 1 Pokemon encounters work is if we reset the game and frame perfectly take the same path, we should always get the exact same encounter. This is because the RNG changes every frame, but it's not actually completely random. So we save and hard reset on this tile, which is basically turning the console on and off. Then we do something called tapping a palette, where we tap the left button of the Game Boy screen to make it blue and slightly change our RNG. After that, we pretty much just frame perfectly make our way through all of these different title screens before we make it back to the game. Then we need to take this exact path while doing a total of 4 A presses, which stop your character for 2 frames each. This will let us get a level 5 Spearow. Now it's time for a YOLO ball. Here we tap A and B to advance the Spearow appeared screen within a 4-frame window, hold A and down when we hear a Charmander's cry, and finally let go of down and press B when the Go Charmander screen disappears. If we do this perfectly, Spearow will always be caught. But I'll be honest, I'm never exactly sure if I actually did the YOLO ball correctly, or if we just got lucky, but we caught the Spearow, so good enough for me. Now we want to name our Spearow AA before making our way over to the Viridian City Pokemon Center. Once we make it in there, we hope that this jerk doesn't block our way and deposit our Charmander into the PC before going to Nurse Joy and healing up our Spearow. This part actually isn't for healing our Pokemon though, and instead we want to set our fainting location to this Pokemon Center. And now we have a fairly long walk to make it over to Viridian Forest. Not too much to explain here, but once we make it onto this tile, we want to save the game and do a hard reset. Now for this manip, instead of tapping the palette to be blue, we're going to hold it, which makes the RNG a bit different. Then it's just like normal with frame perfectly starting the game. Now it's time for easily the hardest part of the speedrun. So we want to do frame perfect movement all the way to a certain part of this forest. Now obviously, since we are in the forest, there's a big chance that we're going to get Pokemon encounters. But if we can do this all frame perfectly, we shouldn't get any until we want to. So you can see I'm going straight through the grass, which is kind of scary. But the good thing is, I know that no Pokemon are going to spawn on me. Now one thing that does help with doing this path is you can actually buffer movement. Now Generation 1 works with a tile-based system, so as you're going through it, we can basically decide to go a specific direction a little bit before we actually make it there. Then once we're at that direction, we're going to automatically do the movement and be fine. And we perfectly set ourselves up that as soon as we're in this spot, we're going to get a Pikachu encounter before the trainer can see us. Now with the Pikachu fight, we want to manipulate the game to give us a Thundershock crit and kill us instantly. But I failed it. Thankfully though, it's not too much of a problem. All we have to do is hope we get good RNG, which we didn't. Yeah, this Pikachu really likes growling. Finally, he finishes us off though, and immediately after that, the trainer we were in front of tries to fight us, but we teleport away. This is called Trainer Deathfly Glitch, and now we're back at the Pokemon Center. From here, we walk all the way back to the forest, and immediately once we get there, the trainer from earlier attacks us. He's really upset that we left him. In this fight, all we hope for is that his Poison Sting attack doesn't poison us, which would basically ruin the entire run. But after a few pecks, we finish him off, only to have him fight us again. This dude is so upset at us that he challenges us to another Pokemon battle with the exact same Weedle. So we use the same strategy, beat him, and hear this strange noise. Now we can move our character again, but we walk like this. We want to make our way to the first trainer in the forest, even if we're very much struggling to even lift our legs. But trainer line of sight is now also disabled, so we need to mash A until his dialogue finally appears and we get to beat the game. Here we pretty much just mash the peck button, so while this is going on, I just want to say if you want to learn more about this speedrun, I would definitely recommend checking out the links in the description, and there are going to be much better explanations for all of these glitches. There's some really crazy stuff in this, and it's also really cool. But anyways, after beating the trainer, we get teleported to the Hall of Fame, which is kind of hilarious. But there actually is a 25% chance of this warp failing and the game crashing, which actually happened to me and ruined a run that was even better than this one. But if we don't get unlucky, we beat the game. We now get to enjoy the game showing off our level 7 Spearow and saying that we really need to catch more Pokemon because our trainer rating is kind of pathetic. But whatever, I'm the champion and definitely didn't do anything illegal at all. Now this run is going to tie us for 90th place on the leaderboard, and I'm pretty happy with that. Subscribe if you enjoyed. Bye.